sandwiches, ice cream, coffee and snacks, and many other pleasing treats. Our foods are fresh and tasty, our drinks satisfying and refreshing. They're so good.
Welcome to Average Joe's Drive-In.
And now, on with the show.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to episode 59 of Average Joe's Drive-In. And with me this week is an old friend of mine, former bandmate, and somebody I have known for years through music, Christian Leathers. How you doing, man?
Pretty good, dude. How's it going?
Oh, it's not going too bad. Enjoying the sideways falling sleet crap that's falling today, and it feels like fall right now. And it's cold and crappy, and I wish spring would actually make an appearance because I'm kind of over the shitty weather.
Yeah, same. It's been a rough April. I'll say that much. Holy crap.
Yeah. Oh, I agree. And it's hopefully every time I think we're getting better weather, and the weather seems to start to improve. All of a sudden, it's it goes right back down to being freezing cold and crappy again for 3 or 4 days, and it can't make its mind up. So.
Yeah, apparently there's something wrong with Mother Nature this time of year around here. It's ain't even normal.
Yeah, exactly. So. Yeah, I haven't seen you for a while, so what is new in your world? I know you've been doing some video game stuff. And you got a Twitch channel going on now, doing some competitive gaming and stuff like that. So, why don't you tell everybody a little bit, about yourself and that whole thing?
Yeah, well, for a while now, as you've seen from social media interaction and stuff like that, I've been streaming and, like you said, competitive gaming. Recently, I took a break for about, I'd say, 4 months or so to just kind of focus on personal life and stuff like that, and I finally gotten back into streaming on a regular basis. I'm pretty much doing 5 nights a week now again, and I'm working my way back into a competitive shape. I kind of lost some of my skills along the way, but I'm looking to get back to that. I've been working on that, putting as much time in every week while holding down a full-time job, Gotta keep a day job for now anyways. Been working on that, working on some writing and stuff like that. And it's pretty much what's new. I just recently started streaming again after about a 4-month break. And that feels really good. I'm happy about it.
Oh yeah. I know how that is because, the whole life kind of gets in the way sometimes, and makes it difficult, so you kind of have to step back a little bit to give yourself some breathing room, and then, that way when you get back into it, it's kind of you're looking at it with a bit of a renewed vigor and a fresh perspective.
Oh, definitely. I mean, that was kind of the biggest thing is, taking a break initially wasn't even, I wasn't even considering it, because I was, really, I was seeing more development and growth in that time period than I ever had, any other time that I had done this. And it was just the way things were going down, I kind of felt like I needed to slow things down and kind of look at it from a different angle. And once I did, I took those few months off, and I kind of looked around, and I was as good as I was doing with it, the way I was going about it, I was going about it the wrong way.
Right.
And now I've got a whole new perspective on it. I think I've got a better plan overall. I'm more focused than I was before. Before I was messing around with YouTube, and I was, trying to be a content creator on top of streaming, on top of, competitive stuff, and then I was just getting burnt out. I mean, it was too many, pulling myself too many directions at one time.
Yeah. Yeah. Sometimes having too many irons in the fire can be a good, becomes more of a detriment than it does an actual help.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. I mean, it made it easier as far as, like, the financial aspects, like finding sponsors, things like that, like generating some income off of it. I was seeing a lot of growth there, but as far as the actual quality of the content I was creating, it was not what I was looking to do. And it really took those few months off for me to realize that and really like look back at some of the stuff I'd been working on and be like, yeah, but you can tell that I wasn't putting my all into it.
Right, and that's the problem. Like with anything, whether it be podcast or it, be the professional gaming competition realm or
hell, even music,
whatever is, most people don't realize that the most of your independent content creators also do all their own promotional work. They do all their own content creation. They do all their own editing. They do all, so you've got, often I've heard people, not so much with me, but I've heard other people in, talking about podcast stuff and be like, geez, why don't you put out more episodes or do, a show more often or try branching out and doing this and this and this. It's like, it's like, I don't think most people really get the general concept of how much time goes into creating whatever it is you're doing, content-wise, because it's not just recording, it's also editing, it's also, doing your own graphics, it's also promoting it. So every time you do something, there's a good anywhere between like maybe 4 to 8 hour chunk that you are taking up in order to create that. So, like most of, like you, I work a full-time job. I do this as a fun hobby that I enjoy and, in getting it out there, but, and I try to, I take it serious as far as what I do and having fun with it, but at the same time, I also have to remind myself and step back on occasion and be like, I just need to take a week off this week, or I need to maybe only do 1 episode instead of 2. Like myself, I generally do 2 episodes a week. I do my interview episode and I do like a review cast episode. In some weeks, I just need to skip a review cast or skip an interview just for my own peace of mind to have that little extra time to do other things,
Totally, and it's like, it's one of those things that I told somebody recently that, like, in regards to, like, the gaming and stuff, and I'm sure it's the same with podcasts, is that for every, like, 15 minutes of, like, actual recording you do, there's another hour of extraneous bullshit. That unless you're paid to do it and you have all of that time available, or you have a staff to do it, or I don't know how some of these people get around it early on, but it felt like I would play, say, here's me playing Overwatch or something like that. I'd play a 15-minute match on that, and I spend the next 2 hours not only editing that, making a thumbnail to post it on YouTube, uploading it to Twitch, clipping it for this, posting it to X amount of social medias, whatever, and then turn around and I'm having to go back through and actually, like, keep tabs on all of that after the fact. And that's just eating up hours of my day. Where, unless, like I said, you're paid to do that, you're making a profit off of it, or you just have that time available. It is so hard to keep up with that at all times.
Well, and that's the other thing, I want to talk a little bit about too is, especially with competitive gaming, you kind of have to keep your skills honed in order to be competitive.
Absolutely.
So if you're spending 3 or 4 hours every time you do a video, and you only have, say, 4 hours a day to actually game and do that, that doesn't leave you a lot of extra time just for actual gaming and improving your skill within those games.
Yeah, and that was another issue that I was running into. It was that, like, in the outset of it, I wanted to just focus on the competitive aspect because that was more, I was always naturally drawn to that. But once I started doing it and I realized like, well, yeah, that's fine, but I'm only getting X amount of dollars for like winning such and such a tournament or, you know, and then having to cover expenses of travel, etc. And then to turn around and look at it as, well, the money I could get from YouTube promotions or from, you know, donations on Twitch, subscribers, etc. And it's like, okay, so if you want to do that, you got to do these other things to really make money to where you can do it, you know, professionally or, you know, at your leisure. And then, like you said, you're ended up having to sacrifice the time that you would be putting into actually improving. And over time, I don't care who you are, over time, it ends up, unless you have 16 hours a day to devote to it, it ends up taking a toll, and you end up having to sacrifice one way or the other. And that was kind of like part of what I needed to realign on, is like, okay, at this point, do I have time to invest in the practicing for 4 hours a night? Or do I need to focus on just like doing something that I can do more flexibly? And it's kind of something that you've got to go one way or the other. There's not really an in-between that I found.
Right. Right. You know, that makes complete sense. You know, it makes complete sense. It's really knowing what you can do and what you need to do and kind of, you know, putting that focus on that area and then, you know, and then making maybe your progress won't be as, you know, quick as you would like it, but at the same time, steady progress is better than, you know, just, you know, no progress then a leap, no progress then a leap. You're better off.
Absolutely.
You know, oh, exactly. Now, for my listeners that aren't familiar with the competitive gaming, you know, scene, why don't you explain that a little bit to people? Because I'm sure I have some listeners that are like, what the hell is that all about? Competitive video games, you know?
Well, here's the, like, weird thing nowadays is that people actually legitimately do make full careers and get paid damn good money to play video games all day. That's the world we live in. Don't ask me how it came about. You told me this when I was friggin' 10 years old playing on, Sega Genesis, I think, something like that. You told me that people would be making $50,000 a year to play a game. I would have told you you're a liar. Like, there's no doubt in my mind. Like, and all growing up, it wasn't even until like 10 years ago that they started, like, all of a sudden it was like, CSGO and StarCraft and stuff, like, overseas was like, oh yeah, the Koreans, like, freak out over it or whatever. And then all of a sudden, now it's become more of a thing here. And
well, there's like whole league, there's like a whole professional league now, correct?
Yes, the Overwatch League is like really like the biggest Western endeavor into the esports community is what they call it basically. And Overwatch, you've seen it, but it's a first-person shooter game, and basically this league was created to put teams that are regionally based against each other in a tournament that lasts 6 months out of the year. And these players are kids out of college, basically. I mean, the age range is anywhere from 18 to, well, however old you want to be playing video games for a living, I guess. I haven't heard a high end on it anyways, but they basically, put it this way, the minimum salary to play this 6 months out of a year is $50,000. That's more than I make right now in a 40-hour-a-week job.
Now, how do they pick these regional teams? Is there like tournaments they have to win in order to get into it?
Well, it's funny because the reason that the Overwatch League is like a lot different is that it instead of it being like local teams, like there is like a farm league that they can you can come up through it and then get into the pros. But you can relate the Overwatch League basically to the NFL or the MLB or, National Hockey. It's a league in the essence that these teams were bought and purchased by a franchise, and they are purchased from top 500 players. Like, they recruit people. They have an actual draft just as any other sports league would. And then these people get basically the chance to compete in this tournament. And it really does. It's been going on for about 4 months now, I think. And it really does, when you watch it in appearance, it is just like watching the NFL, except there's only 8 teams, I think, maybe a little more. And instead of throwing the ball around, they're playing video games. And it boggles my mind, honestly. Like, I love it, but it's so crazy to me. Like,
Now my question is, okay, it's the Overwatch League, but eventually Overwatch is going to run its course, so what are they going to do when that happens? Is it going to turn to a different name, or how does this actually, because I've been curious about that whole portion of it, because every game kind of has a life cycle where
It does, and like that's something that is kind of up in the air on this, because this is a game that's it's 2 years old almost.
Yeah.
And so it's been around a little while, and this, they're in their first year of this league, and I thought of that too. It was like, what if people just like get over it and they just don't care about the game? Now, admittedly, the developers of this game, as a fan of it, I will say the developers do a lot of work with this game to constantly have it changing and evolving and adding new ways to play it, new characters, etc. So the game, even as a spectator, it's constantly changing. It's like it's every other year when you're watching, NFL, every other season, they just completely change the rule set.
Right. Which they kind of do anyway, because every year they keep changing what is a catch and what is, but I won't get into that.
Well, here's something that some of the listeners may relate to. The New England Patriots owner, Robert Kraft, owns an Overwatch League team.
Okay.
He bought it, paid, I think it was $25 million, invested in it, and he bought a team of players, called them the Boston Uprising, and he was one of the first investors.
Well, that's cool. So you're seeing sport franchise type people getting involved with this. It's not just outside business people or.
Yeah. No, and that was one of the big points that was the initial selling point of it, is they were going for a world stage. They weren't looking for just computer companies and things like that,
right,
who typically support, gaming competition.
Well, and I could also see, as far as a competitive standpoint, where it would be easier to have teams from different countries competing against each other because they don't necessarily have to be in the same room.
Totally. And there's a significant following. You look at it in comparison to some major sports. The first few weeks of the Overwatch League, when it started running, consistently it was having over 100,000 viewers all day. And this is over seriously all day. This is a 10 to 12 hour period. This is consistently 100,000 people or more watching it. And that generates revenue.
Right.
That's impressive numbers for something in its first outing.
Now, so how does somebody go about watching this? Is it broadcast on Twitch?
Yeah, it's broadcast on Twitch. Actually, they also have an OverwatchLeague.com that you can go on and watch it. And that's the way I prefer to watch it, because Twitch is kind of a mess sometimes.
Right, yeah, I've never really got too deep into the Twitch rabbit hole, but I've been on there a few times and just checked stuff out, and because I thought at one time about maybe trying to do like broadcast on there, like live podcast, but it just was like didn't really feel like that was the right platform for that. So
I get you. I like, as much as I like Twitch, there are other platforms, and that's something definitely to consider, because there's a certain crowd to each one. I mean, I think that Overwatch League in particular went with the partnership with them because they're the largest platform, perhaps.
Right.
But I don't feel that's always going to be the case. I mean,
I'm sure it's like anything. This is kind of in its infant stages right now, and as it progresses and builds, it will,
absolutely.
They'll work to different platforms and evolve as it goes along, like anything. So, what have you been playing for games other than Overwatch, or is that pretty much your primary focus?
Actually, honestly, I haven't been playing as much Overwatch recently as I was. Lately, I've been just kind of experimenting with other games. Like the Battle Royale type game is really popular right now, like in Hunger Games, basically, but a video game.
Right.
And no story at all. And basically, I've been messing around with a lot of those, like testing out different new ones as they come out and things like that, just to see if any of them really jump out at me. I've been trying to get into more RPGs and stuff like that, role-playing games. Like, I've been wanting to. So I've been re-downloading some of the older ones to kind of prime myself to get into some of the
I did that not too long ago myself on Steam. I grabbed the Sega emulator and grabbed Landstalker, Shining Force 2, some of the, Phantasy Star 4 and 5, I think, is on there. So, there's a lot of the classic RPGs that we kind of grew up with that are on there. There's also, I've been playing a little bit of Paladins. And, I can't remember the other one's name, but it's kind of like a battle car thing. Boy, I've only played it a few times, but that's kind of cool. And, I tried H1Z1 and I couldn't really get into it. The same way I couldn't get into PUBG. That's just not my thing.
Mm-hmm.
I'm more of a Fallout, Skyrim type gamer as far as those types of games go. I mean, I do like playing like games like Battlefield and stuff like that. It's fun, but I'm definitely more into the LAN party type games, like Company of Heroes or, Age of Empires type stuff. But I like to get on and mix it up with the other ones. But the only problem I found, like we were talking about earlier, is I don't play those games enough to be really good at them.
Yep.
So I end up sucking really bad for like the first hour I play, and then I kind of catch up to it, and then I don't play it again for a month,
Yeah, I totally get that. Like, I go through periods of that. Like, every once in a while, I'll, want to play some, League of Legends or something, say. Like, I have a couple of buddies that they're just hardcore into it. They play it every single night. I might play it once every 3 months.
Right.
For, a couple hours. And so I'll, get into matches with these guys, and I'm just, lost immediately. And I'm like, oh, wow. I'm nothing, just completely dumpstered.
Oh, that happens to me so often with Battlefield.
Yeah.
I'll get on, and I'll go through stretches where I won't play it for, 2 or 3 weeks, and then I'll kind of get back into it for a few, and game pretty hard on it for a couple weeks, then I'll take a few weeks off. But it's always those first couple days getting back into playing it, it's I'm just awful.
Totally. Honestly, to be honest, Battlefield is one of those ones that, I love first-person shooters. I mean, they're one of my favorite genres, and I've always played them. But Battlefield is one of those ones I've never been able to say I was good at. I always, like, no matter what, I was getting shot in the back by somebody, like, from 8 miles away. And I was just like, yep, that's it.
Well,
like,
that's the problem, like, with, and that's one of the problems with, especially the first-person shooter type games, is if you don't play every day, people get so far ahead of you as far as skill and knowing where all the hiding spots are, and just there's a lot more to it than just running around and shooting.
Oh, absolutely.
So I definitely can tell when I go a long period of time, like, I'm okay at it, like, I can hold my own, but if I go a long period of time, I'm horrible.
Oh, yeah. Like, I have, like, probably, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4. I have 4 different shooters that I, like, try to stay active in right now. And every time that I switch from one to the next, it's a good half an hour where I'm, like, relearning the controls. Like, it is bad. Like,
yeah. That happens to me, especially when I try new stuff. It's like, oh, this is a completely different controller setup. As dumb as it sounds, it's like, I really don't want to spend the time learning this, so I'm just not going to bother.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, sometimes even, like, older games that I play, like, take, say Call of Duty, for instance. Like, back in the day, I could play that all night long and, you know, just do awesome, feel great, whatever. I try and play that to this day. I can't get a single kill.
No.
I just feed.
I did the free beta weekend on Steam with the new one.
Oh, yeah.
And I played literally 2 matches, and I'm like, nope, done. I'm like, I have no interest in playing this whatsoever.
Yeah.
So I'll stick with Battlefield. I've always been more of a Battlefield guy anyway. I just like the game better. I just feel like it's too easy to cheat in Call of Duty to me, and just, I don't know.
I could see that for sure. I mean,
it doesn't seem as balanced. Maybe not cheat is the right word, but it always seemed to me that Call of Duty was a lot less balanced than Battlefield.
Oh, absolutely. Like, I remember, like, Modern Warfare 2 back in, what was it, like, 2009, 2008, when that came out. Yeah, I remember how broken that game was. Like, I mean, basically, there were 2 guns in the game that were worth having, and the rest of them might as well just throw in the dumpster.
Right, and at least that's the one thing I've found with the newer Battlefield is it seems to be pretty balanced as far as the weapons go. You know, each one of them maybe not your lower level starting out guns, but as you get farther into it, it seems to be much more balanced. Like, each one of them kind of has its good points and its bad points, but you can get good with any of them pretty much,
sure.
You know?
Yeah, that's a big thing. Like, I mean, I think that's what will show, like, the test of time in a lot of games that, like, don't really do anything with that. Like, certain games, they're just kind of, nowadays, it's changed now where, I mean, a game can be updated instantly from the developer over anything. So there's no real reason that they should have things like that, and yet, like, certain games, it's like they just throw it out there and they're like, here, that's what you get.
Yeah. Yeah. That's one big complaint I have about some of the modern games, though, is they seem to throw them out there before they're like 100% ready to be on the market. Yeah. So they're glitchy as all hell to start with, and then it takes them 6 months to get all the glitches out.
Oh yeah, like even the Fallout games, it was like, I remember the first like month of Fallout 4 being out, and it was almost unplayable.
Oh yeah. which I just got back into Fallout 4 again. I started a new character, and I'm almost up to level 60 right now. But this is like the I think this is the third or fourth time I've played this through. Mm-hmm. And I have just an insane amount of time in on this game. Like, I've never had this much time in on a game, but it's fun. And they've gotten the 95% of the glitches out of it, but it's Bethesda, and they always have glitches in their games.
Sure, I mean, a game that huge, I mean, you're talking, they create an entire world for their games, so it's like, I can forgive certain glitches, and some of them are even funny. Like,
some of them are hilarious when they happen. And this is one thing, I mean, like I said, this is like the third or fourth time I've played this through, that I've gone, right from the beginning all the way through. And, and I'm still finding stuff that I've never come across before. And that's telling you how big this game is, because I'm up to like 900 hours on this game.
Yeah.
So, and I'm still coming across things. And I'm still having fun with it. It's not like it's just, I'm just playing it to play it. I'm still having a blast every time I play this through.
Oh, I could see it. Like, it's one of those ones. I think that games like that and Skyrim, it's like you can play them infinitely almost, and like they don't really get old. And like that's what I really like about those ones in particular. Like
the replay value was amazing on those games. Yeah.
I mean, it gives you your money's worth. Like,
for sure.
Because people have said before that it's like, there's a particular like pricing law basically where they like locked a certain price on video games back when they were like first coming out, and somehow or another it got insta-locked at being $60.
Yeah.
And so ever since then, it was like basically like everybody's like, oh well, like you're still getting a $60 game, and it's like, yeah, well, you had a $60 game, and then they add 2 or 3 expansion packs that are $20 a piece.
Unless you buy the season pass,
right? For 40 whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which, being the cheap bastard that I am, I wait until the one good thing I love about Steam is they have sales every quarter.
All the time. Steam is dangerous because of its sales. Like,
I have about 40 games on my Steam account that I paid like $2 a piece for that I've never played, but I'm going to get to eventually some year. And then I just keep adding more stuff, type deal.
Totally.
But that's usually what I do is I wait till the Steam sales, and then I'll pick up, the season pass or whatever and get it for like half price or.
Sure.
But the thing is, I will say about Fallout in particular is the expansions for that are longer than some games are in themselves. Each, like Nuka World takes like 20 hours to go through. Far Harbor takes like 20 hours to go through.
Far Harbor was amazing.
Oh, Far Harbor was so much fun. Seeing we're in Maine, and you basically live almost right where that's taking place. So,
dude, I seriously considered, I shouldn't even say it. Okay, I seriously considered doing guided tours.
Fallout 4 guided tours.
Yeah.
Got a little Cranberry Island, and,
Yes.
Which is also funny because that is where they are shooting, some of the stuff from the film they're adapting from my short story is going to be shot on Little Cranberry Island.
No kidding.
So,
nice.
Yeah. So that's kind of funny that's also in Fallout 4. It's where they did, Storm of the Century and a couple other Stephen King, movies. And so, yeah, it's kind of...
Maine's a spooky place.
Yeah, Maine has a creepy vibe to it. If you've ever been here, it's got kind of an old world feel. New England in general for the United States, I think, kind of has an old feel to it anyway.
Yeah. It's all haunted.
It's all haunted, yes. There's a rich, long history. But, so, you've also been doing some writing lately. You sent me some of your stuff. I checked it out. I enjoyed it. So, like, what got you back into doing that?
I don't know. I kind of, like, for a few months, I'd just been kind of kicking around a few different ideas in my head. Like, that time off that I had, and even prior to that, like, every once in a while, I would just kind of have, like, a weird thought. Usually it would come up as, like, basically just, like, shower thoughts thing. And then it would, like, go a little further. And I would kind of spend sometimes, I'm just like be hanging out at work and kind of thinking about it. I do a lot of office work sort of stuff, so I have plenty of time to think. So I just, kind of mull it over, and it would slowly develop into a story, and I was just like, one of these days, I'm like, I gotta put it on paper. And so, just recently I said, well, I'm gonna try it. Like, I'm gonna actually try and get one of these ideas out. And so I did, and that was what was it? See You Soon. The Tumblr one.
Oh, yeah.
And that basically was like a creepypasta that I thought of. Like, I was like, okay, like, I had that idea. And now since that, like, I got a fairly good response from a lot of people on that, and I was legitimately surprised. It was just kind of, I don't know, I was kind of testing the waters. And then after that, I was like, you know what, I'm going to put one of the bigger ideas together and see if I can make something of it. And I've been working on that for about 2 months, 3 months now. And I'm feeling pretty confident in it at this point. Like, I like it. I feel like it's going to be something that I'd be proud of, but it's going to need some work.
Oh, they always do. As I've learned writing is, the first draft is always like your structure. It's never the complete works. You really, everybody's different, but for me, I like, my second time through is when I really flesh things out better and kind of, smooth the storyline out. And then usually my final edit is where I make any final changes and try to fix stuff before I send it out to somebody to proofread or whatever.
Sure, yeah. I'm working into that phase of it. Like, I'd say I've completed the first draft of it at this point, and I'm just kind of like giving it a moment to sit while I really think about it.
Oh, it's good. I've found that generally with short stories, I like to let short stories sit for at least a couple, 2 or 3 weeks or more.
Yeah.
And before I go back and look at them. Novels, I'd like to take somewhere between 6 and 12 weeks away from them before I start looking at them again. And I try to go longer if possible, but...
Yeah, well, that was kind of one of the issues I ran into with this one. As I was writing, I initially had an idea for just a pretty simple short story, and then as I was going through, and all of a sudden I was like, well, this isn't a short story at all anymore.
Right.
And then I was getting around to it, and I was like, well, if I've already gone this far, I might as well just, like,
keep
really
going.
flesh it out
and
make it something. And that was how it turned into way more than I was expecting to. And it was kind of natural in progression, and I think that's what I like most about it.
I think so often when we're writing, one of the fun parts about writing to me is having an idea, starting to work on it, and then having it snowball into other things and going in directions that you didn't originally think of, and it kind of builds into this whole something else. I like to do stream of conscious writing where I have a basic idea and I sit down and I just write and let it kind of develop on its own.
Mm-hmm.
I know some people are like to have a very rigid outline and stick to it, and that's fine. It's whatever works for you. But one of the benefits I like of the stream of conscious writing, like I said, is it gives you a chance to not be locked into such a rigid standard, because I think sometimes when you get into that mode where everything is locked down, it becomes harder to do anything different, because then it screws up all this other work you've put into sorting the story out.
Totally, and I totally agree with that. It's also weird how, like, sometimes while you're going through and just rereading it at times, like, you'll be going halfway through it and you'll be like, well, no, I really want to build this. And then you do that to like 5 or 6 different parts of the story.
Yeah.
Over a couple of weeks. And all of a sudden it's like, well, this is barely even the same thing that it was.
I've also written chapters later on that I have moved around and reorganized in the book because it might have been all of a sudden in the middle of the book I decide come up with more of a backstory or something for a character.
Yeah.
So it's like, this is kind of a stupid spot to put this, but I can move this whole chapter with a little bit of finagling and editing back a little earlier, and it makes way more sense about now, further on down the road type deal.
Totally. Yeah, I can see that. I made it, this most recent story, I made it probably a third of the way through it. And then, well, I'll say that writing in first person is bitch. And I don't like it. And I was like, you know what? No, I'm not doing this.
Third person is definitely a lot easier.
Yeah. Oh, definitely. And it's just, it gives you so much more to work with. Especially depending on the type of story you're telling. Like, I don't know. I was just like,
I admire anybody that can write in first person perspective because it's for me, it definitely doesn't feel natural.
It took like what? Okay, for my writing style, every time that I hear like first person, except for like particular circumstances, I hear first person, and for some reason or another, it always reminds me of like teen novels.
Right.
I don't know why, but it's just, that's what I read from it every time. I'm just like, I'm imagining a diary.
Dear diary, today, yeah. Oh, exactly. So, are you you plan on publishing this stuff eventually, or are you just kind of now, just kind of working stuff out? And
actually, the one that I'm working on now, Telescope, I actually do plan on publishing. I'm gonna wait. I'm gonna test read some of it first and see how it goes, and then probably, I'm hoping within the next probably 6 months to start looking into publishing it.
Yeah.
Depending on time frame, schedule, and whatever.
Right. How roughly how long do you think it's going to be as far as like length of the story?
Currently, I have 7 chapters, and it's probably 123 pages. 143 pages. And so, I'm not looking to go too much further than that. I think that I got the first draft pretty much where I want.
So you're in that novella length type area, yeah.
It feels right for the story I'm looking to tell.
Well, exactly, and that's something when you talk to a lot of people, other writers, or newer writers that are trying to kind of figure stuff out. Like, I've had people ask me, it's like, well, how do you figure out the length of your story? And it's like, well, I don't. I do what feels natural. If it feels natural to be at 1,000 pages, that's great. If it feels natural to be 120, that's great. As long as the story is being competently told and you're getting everything out that you want to get out, go with what feels comfortable and don't worry about the length.
Exactly.
Especially nowadays with being able to self-publish. It's so much easier to do that than if you maybe had a traditional publishing contract.
Sure.
Where they want at least X amount of pages for a release, type deal.
Yeah, you're going to have a page quota or whatever. And that's totally accurate. Some of the best stories I've ever read through the years that have been like maybe 60 pages, 40 pages.
Oh yeah, I love short stories. Some of my favorite stuff that I've written are shorts.
Yeah.
So, and that's the other good thing is if you write a novella and then you have 4 or 5 short stories that are 20 to 40 pages, you can put them all together into a collection.
Sure. There's no reason not to, and I mean, I'm kind of bouncing around genres, and I think that's going to be what's going to make or break me there. Cause
I've recently started writing a little more sci-fi fantasy type stuff, than getting outside of the horror box. I love horror, don't get me wrong, and I will always write horror, but I'm also a huge sci-fi and fantasy nerd, so I also want to explore some of those genres and kind of mix genres together a little bit and, you know, blend stuff and all the stuff that I like together into you know, that's part of the fun part about writing to me is being able to just, you can do whatever you want, whatever your imagination is limited to, basically. Yeah,
exactly. And like, I am totally gonna make liberal use of it at every turn.
Oh, exactly. Well, hey, we're already at like the 50-minute mark, so you know, it goes by quick. But before we kind of wrap stuff up, I wanted to talk a little bit about movies that you have seen recently or anything you're into right now.
Recently, as far as movies, I've been watching a lot of sci-fi and stuff like that. I just can't keep away from it. I watched, stupidly enough, I just recently watched that Cloverfield Paradox because I'm a big fan of giant monster movies.
Oh, me too, yeah. So I want to know what are your thoughts on the Cloverfield Paradox?
I'm like very mixed on it because like as a sci-fi movie, it was mediocre. It had its really good points, but it felt like something was just kind of disjointed. I couldn't quite put I'm not entirely sure. Something about it just, the way the whole plot made out was too much, it was too many cliches.
Oh yeah.
For the type of movie that it was. And like, I'm fine with a bit of cheese, but there were like moments that
I love cheese. If anybody that listens to the podcast on the regular knows that I like really cheesy movies. I can enjoy almost anything, even if it's horribly bad, but, you know, I liked it. It did feel to me like that the actual Cloverfield stuff itself was the more, you know, the more I thought about it after the fact, it did feel like the Cloverfield stuff was kind of put in there as an afterthought almost.
It really did.
And I think that's maybe why the film felt a little disjointed. If that stuff hadn't have been in there, and it had just been the actual main film, without the bouncing around stuff, I think maybe people would have enjoyed it more.
I think you might be right on that, because I was going into it, like I said, I'm a big giant monster movie fan, so like I wanted a new Cloverfield. Because we've had two of them, okay, that they only showed any sort of monster, other than a human monster. They only showed them twice for like 30 seconds, if that, out of friggin' two movies.
Right.
And even the first one, you're only seeing it for like maybe 5 minutes of the entire 2-hour film. Yeah. So, I don't know. Like, I just want more. Like, give me, like, Cloverfield versus Godzilla. And I'm totally stoked. But until then, I'm just kind of over that series. Like,
well, the thing is with the Cloverfield series is I look at each film like their own separate thing and that they just kind of loosely tie together. Because I absolutely adored 10 Cloverfield Lane. I thought that was such a good movie.
It was a great movie.
That just happened to have a tie into Cloverfield. You know, is how I looked at that.
Yeah, well, like, okay, the way I thought 10 Cloverfield Lane was basically that the first hour and 20 minutes of the movie, amazing. Like, an awesome suspense.
John Goodman is so good in that movie. The whole cast is good, but he is just phenomenal.
He has blown me away in, like, how much he has done in, like, horror and, like, suspense movies in the last couple of years. Because, like, every time that I see him on a movie, I'm like, holy fuck.
I just reviewed, actually, on this past review cast that I just posted today at the time that we're recording this, Arachnophobia, which was one of the first movies I ever remember seeing him in.
Yeah, I'll say this, I am definitely an arachnophobe. I am friggin' terrified of him. The movie did not help. I saw that at a pretty young age, and that didn't do a damn thing for me.
I hadn't seen it in a really long time since, like, it first came out on VHS, and I happened to find a copy on VHS for 30 cents, so I picked it up and watched it. But I also saw another movie he was in that I forgot about, that he was even in it, was Revenge of the Nerds a couple weeks ago.
Oh, wow.
Because he plays the coach in Revenge of the Nerds, yeah.
It's been forever since I've watched that one. It's one of my favorites.
So, yeah, I mean, John Goodman, he's such a phenomenal and diverse actor.
Oh, totally.
Another one that Shout Factory just re-released that I really want to get, but I can't pull the trigger for the cost of it, is Matinee.
Oh, yeah.
About the guy that, making the half man, half ant film and trying to show his theater. And I haven't seen that in so long, but that was such a cool movie back in the day that I really enjoyed.
Oh, wow, yes, I remember it.
Just re-released, yeah.
I remember seeing that when I was staying in Florida years ago. And
it's been a long time since I've seen it, but I remember I really liked it.
Oh, yeah. It was a riot.
So, any other, have you checked out the new Lost in Space series yet?
I started watching it the other night. I really, really, really want to like it, but I want to finish it before I'm really gonna pass judgment on anything.
Yeah. I'm 2 episodes in, and I'm really enjoying it so far. But like most shows, usually the first 3, 4, 5 episodes are kind of slow, and they're kind of getting everything set up, and usually it's really hard to tell with most shows until maybe the midway point before you really kind of start knowing for sure. And I also just started watching Gotham, which I hadn't watched yet. I'm like 7 episodes into season 1 of that, and I really enjoy that so far. But that's also when it's pretty slow going so far.
Oh man, that I swear to God, I pissed my ex-wife off so bad with that movie. It's the reason she divorced me. No, she got so pissed off at me because I literally had to rewatch the first episode of that 6 times before I was able to completely make it through the episode. Because I would fall asleep like, if I made it halfway, I was doing pretty damn good, because I would fall asleep not 20 minutes into an episode, and it was just, I couldn't do the first one. After the first episode, it was amazing. Like, I loved it. But that first episode, for some reason, it took me literally
Now, how far into, are you current with it now?
No, I made it through season 2. And
see, most everybody I've talked to so far regarding Gotham told me that season 1 is good, but it's really slow. And then after season 1, it kind of starts picking up pace a little bit, and you kind of get more involved with some of the villains and all the different stuff going on. And they were like, it gets a lot better as it progresses through the
It definitely does. I can 100% agree with that, because I think in the first season they were, testing the waters, reestablishing the storyline and everything, and setting the backdrop. But the second season, the characters got so much more diverse, and that's where it really picked up.
I really like the guy that plays Penguin. He's great so far.
Totally, and they did a really good job with casting. I gotta say that.
So far,
And some of them, you can tell that they, they looked at this person and they found exactly the way that they would fit into the roles.
Oh, yeah. And it's kind of interesting seeing, like, Batman and Catwoman and the Poison Ivy and some of them as kids.
Oh, the nostalgia is
So you're getting the backstory, kind of a backstory that maybe you didn't really know about them so much. And
yeah,
it's
totally.
kind of, that part of it to me is really, really interesting, so.
Yeah, and it kind of makes me, like, wonder, like, his certain aspects of those parts, they've definitely taken liberties, but I just wonder how connected they are with DC, and, like, how much influence do the comic end of it have on the series at times, because some of it is pretty, like, you know, some of it is old hat. Like, yeah, we all know Bruce Wayne's parents were killed. Like,
right.
No surprise. But there's some pretty big revelations as you're going along about certain characters, and it's just like, wow.
Well, it's interesting to see, like, the foreshadowing they're doing for later seasons. With what happened early on with some of the characters as they're younger, because it totally, if you know those characters, you know, in their comic book form, and you know how they are as they're older, it's really interesting to be like, that's why Poison Ivy is so screwed up. You know, or whatever it happens to be, or why Catwoman is Catwoman, or, you know.
Yeah.
It's very interesting. And the one thing I like about it, the first season to me is almost like a buddy cop drama.
Yep.
with like comic book hero thrown into it.
Yeah, pretty much. It's like, it's, I want to say, the Detective Comics series, like, they did a lot of really interesting stuff back then, and this is what, like, I see as season 1. It's basically Detective Comics Batman.
Yeah, basically, the old school Batman.
Yeah. And then it gets more into, like, the Dark Knight as they go on. And we're coming through to the other side of that now. Like, I've been spoiling it some for myself online, and, like, the stuff about the Joker.
I just avoid everything at all possible as far as any shows go.
I follow entirely too many comic book websites on social media, and they all ruin that stuff. And I am a glutton for punishment. I can't resist clicking that.
You know, because I'm kind of used to it at this point, because I don't have television anymore. So the only time I watch shows is like when it comes on Amazon or Netflix.
Same.
So, and I'm trying not to do it so much, but usually when a new show comes on, I really like it. I just binge watch the hell out of it until I'm done with it. But lately I've been trying to get into, okay, you're not going to watch 8 episodes of this in one day. I'll watch one here, one there, one here, maybe a couple here and there. And granted, I go through it a lot faster than a normal season of a show, but I'm trying to take my time and kind of enjoy stuff. That was like, I tried to do that with this past season of Stranger Things, and I'm like, I'm just going to watch one episode a day, and 2 days later I'd watch the whole thing. So, you know.
I recently did that with X-Files, the newest season of that.
Yeah, I still have to catch up on that.
I watched the first episode. Like, I don't have cable either. I just watch everything online, or I just watch it on Hulu, Netflix, whatever.
Yeah.
And I watched the first episode of it, and I was like, oh shit. And it's like, I can't stop here. And like, literally, like 5 hours later, I was just like, I gotta sleep. And then I think that it was, the next day, as soon as I got home from work, it was just like, finishing it. And just plowed through the whole series.
Yeah, that's exactly what I ended up doing. I happened to be on vacation the same week that Stranger Things Season 2 came out. So I was gone, like the first day it come out, I watched a bunch of episodes, then I was gone for 3 or 4 days, and then I come home and finished it, and then I was gone again. So it kind of worked out because I wasn't around. So I just ended up watching it all in one giant chunk, but I adore that show, so.
Oh, totally. I'm an old fan of it, and I have not been able to stop watching it. I think I've watched the original series probably 7 or 8 times through.
Wow.
It's just ridiculous. I don't even know why at this point.
Because it's such an amazing show, is why.
You can't help it, and I hope that the rumors aren't true and that they will get another season, because when you see the end of this season, it's too much.
Yeah.
I can't handle it, especially not knowing if there's gonna be more.
Yeah, I see it, and I'm one of the, and I'm in the category of people, I don't usually rewatch TV shows by season, not very often. The only one I've ever really done that with was Game of Thrones. I've watched through, up until the past season, I think 3 times I've watched that all the way through.
I'd get my geek card, my nerd card revoked, but I have not watched a single episode of Game of Thrones.
Okay, well, that's enough for this show for the week. Yeah. Oh, it's so good, so good. You might as well just wait now, because when the last season comes out, and then just buy the whole friggin' thing on DVD.
That's literally what I was doing.
And watch it all in one shot, because it's,
That's pretty much exactly what I've been waiting for. Is I was just I want it to wrap up, and then I'm going to binge it.
It's one of the few shows that I actually pretty much stay current with as soon as a new episode comes out. I will get HBO Go for the couple months that Game of Thrones is on and watch it.
Sure. I've read the books.
I haven't. I'm just the opposite of you. I want to wait till the series is done, and then I'll go back and read the books, because I have them, I just haven't read them.
Right. I get that. It was kind of like The Walking Dead. I ruined that for myself, because I read too much of the comics. And now I'm I want them to finish the series, and then I'll watch the whole thing.
Yeah.
That used to be my show, current. Every single week, every Sunday or whatever, I was watching it. And I think it was season 4. I just stopped.
Yeah.
I watched one episode and I was I can't. I could not. No. No more. Not until the day that it ends. And then I'm going to. I'll spend the whole week rewatching it.
Right.
But.
Right, but. Well, man, we are getting to that point of the show. I got to wrap things up, but before we go, you want to tell everybody where they can check out your streaming online and find out, get a hold of you or whatever if they want to check out any of your stuff?
Yeah, they can follow me on Twitter. It's XTIANFPS. Be the same on Twitch, twitch.tv/XTIANFPS. And then, aside from that, you can probably find me on just about any social media platform by going by XTN.
That's the way to do it. Don't be like me and have every social media site under something completely different. So
I've been trying to get it all under one umbrella. It is a hard job.
Yeah, exactly, man. Well, hey, thanks for coming on and chatting, dude. It's been a long time since we've had a chance to really shoot the shit and catch up.
Yeah, it's been a while. It was fun. I really liked it.
Before we go, I also want to let everybody know, April 28th, I will be at the Bar Harbor Comic and Toy Con in Bar Harbor, Maine. So if you are in Maine and want to come say hi, it's a great little event. I will be there slinging books, but I'll also, as always, I'm down to talk about the podcast, the upcoming film that's being made of my short. Anything. I'll be sitting actually right next to the table with the company that is doing the short. So you can buy you can pre-order their feature-length film, Sleep Eaters. They'll be taking pre-orders for the DVD and Blu-ray of that, and we're actually going to be right side by side, so you can kind of talk to them about Chum as well, and what they've got a lot of cool stuff coming up. And again, I want to thank Christian for coming on and hanging out and chatting it up with me. It was good to catch up, man.
Yeah, thank you for having me, man. I will catch up with you soon.
Exactly.
Have a good one.
So before we go, I just want to tell you guys all one last thing. Remember, kids, opinions are like assholes. Everybody's got one, and I will see you sexy animals on the flip side.
Thanks for listening to Average Joe's Drive-In. If you'd like to talk movies or contact the show, add our social media pages. You can add us on Facebook at Average Joe's Drive-In Podcast, on Twitter at TWJ Author, on Instagram at Thomas Washburn Jr. You can also hit up www.thomaswashburnjr.com for more information about the show and related links. If you'd like to support the show, you can buy TJ's books on Amazon. Just type in Thomas Washburn Jr. in the search. Books are available in Kindle and paperback formats. If you have Kindle Unlimited or Prime, you can read the books for free and money will be earned by the pages read. It doesn't cost you anything and it supports the show. Until next time, you've been listening to Average Joe's Drive-In.
It's intermission. Rise and stretch time. Time to refresh yourself and visit our snack bar. Got a yen for hot popcorn? Your favorite soft drinks are sparkling cold. The juicy Frank sizzling hot. There's delicious coffee, freshly brewed, and all kinds of ice cream and candy to tempt you. Showtime will be announced loud and clear to get you back to your car in time. So stretch your legs. Come to the snack bar now.